Captain Taeho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. 3 months had passed since they left Earth. 3 months of empty space and silence. His crew was getting restless. The Horizon was humanity's first real deep spaceship. Not like the old ones that barely made it to Mars. This ship could travel between star systems. It had the best technology Earth could build. Nuclear fusion engines, quantum computers, weapons that could crack asteroids in half. Taeho was proud to command her. He was only 35 years old, but he had trained his whole life for this mission. Find new worlds, look for alien life, make contact if they found any. "Captain," called So-Young Park from her science station. She was the smartest person Taeho had ever met. Her black hair was always pulled back tight, and her dark eyes never missed anything. "I'm getting some strange readings." Taeho walked over to her station. The screen showed waves of energy coming from somewhere ahead of them. The waves were huge, much bigger than anything their ship could make. "What kind of readings?" Taeho asked. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database," So-Young said. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. "The source is about 2 light hours away. It's coming from an uncharted system." Dongwoo Lee looked up from his weapons station. He was a big man with serious eyes. He had served in the Korean Space Marines before joining the crew. "Could be hostile," he said in his quiet voice. "Could be," Taeho agreed. "But it could also be what we came out here to find." Hyejin Choi turned from her communication station. She was young, maybe 28, with a bright smile that made everyone feel better. "Should I try to make contact, Captain?" "Not yet," Taeho said. "First we look, then we decide." He pressed a button on his chair. "Ji-hoon, report to the bridge." A few minutes later, Ji-hoon Kang arrived. He was the ship's engineer, thin and tall with hands that could fix anything. He had designed half the systems on the Horizon himself. "You called, Captain?" Ji-hoon asked. "Take a look at So-Young's readings," Taeho said. "Tell me what you think." Ji-hoon studied the data for several minutes. His face grew more interested as he read. "This is incredible," he finally said. "The energy output is massive. Whatever is making this, it's big. Really big." "Bigger than our ship?" Taeho asked. "Bigger than a city," Ji-hoon said. "Maybe bigger than a whole country." Taeho felt his heart beat faster. This was it. This was why they had come so far from home. "Set course for the energy source," he ordered. "Maximum speed." The Horizon turned toward the unknown system. Her engines pushed her faster than any human ship had ever gone. The stars began to change as they traveled deeper into space than any human had gone before. 2 days later, they arrived, at the edge of the system. What they found took their breath away. A huge space station hung in orbit around a dying red star. The station was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was shaped like a great wheel, but with twisted spokes that curved in impossible ways. The metal it was made from looked old, very old. It was dark gray and covered with strange markings that seemed to glow with their own light. "My God," So-Young whispered. "How old do you think it is?" Ji-hoon was running scans on his equipment. "The metal shows signs of age that I can't even measure," he said. "This thing could be thousands of years old, maybe tens of thousands." "Is it abandoned?" Taeho asked. "I'm detecting very low power readings," Hyejin reported. "Something is still working in there, but barely." Dongwoo was studying his weapon sensors. "I don't see any defensive systems. No missiles. No energy weapons. If there were any, they're not active now." Taeho stared at the ancient station. Every rule in the book said they should report this to Earth and wait for orders, but Earth was months away. By the time they got a response, who knew what might happen? "Captain, So-Young said softly, "if this station is as old as it appears to be, it predates human civilization." We could be looking at proof that we're not alone in the universe. We could also be looking at something that could kill us all, Dongwu said. Taeho nodded. Both were right, but they had not come this far to play it safe. We're going aboard, he decided. Dongwu, you're with me. So Young Ji-hoon, you too. Hye-jin, you stay here and monitor communications. Captain, I should protest, Dongwu said. This goes against first contact protocols. Noted, Taeho said. But sometimes you have to make the hard choices. Get your gear ready. We go in 1 hour. The docking bay of the Horizon was busy as the team prepared. They wore full environmental suits and carried enough air for 6 hours. Dongwu brought his plasma rifle and extra power cells. So-young packed her portable scanners and sample containers. Ji-hoon carried his engineering tools and emergency repair kits. Their shuttle was small but tough. It could protect them from most dangers they might find. Taeho piloted it carefully toward the alien station. Up close, the station was even more impressive. It was huge beyond imagination. Their shuttle looked like a bug next to it. There, Ji-hoon pointed to an opening in the station's hull. That looks like a docking bay. The opening was much larger than anything humans would build. Whatever had made this station was big, much bigger than humans. Taeho guided the shuttle inside. The docking bay was dark and empty. Their lights showed, walls covered with symbols that seemed to move in the shadows. The symbols glowed faintly, like dying stars. Air pressure is holding, Ji-hoon reported as they landed. But the air itself is too thin for humans. Keep your suits sealed. They left the shuttle and stepped onto the station floor. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal, but not by much. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space. Which way? Taeho asked. So-young checked her scanner. I'm getting energy readings from deeper in the station. This way. They walked through corridors that were built for giants. The ceiling was 3 times higher than it needed to be for humans. The walls were covered with more of the glowing symbols. Some of them looked almost familiar, like pictures from old Earth books about dragons and monsters. These markings, So-young said, running her scanner over them. They're not just decorative. They're some kind of writing system, maybe even a computer interface. As they went deeper into the station, the air began to feel different. Not physically, since they were still in their suits, but something was changing. The symbols on the walls were glowing brighter. The station seemed to be waking up. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the station. It was so large their lights could not reach the far walls. In the center of the chamber sat something that made them all stop walking. It was a pod, but not like any pod humans had ever built. This one was the size of a small building. It was made of the same gray metal as the station, but it was covered with tubes and wires that pulsed with soft light. Through a transparent section at the top, they could see something moving inside. Something very large. What is that? Dongwu whispered, raising his rifle. So-young was taking readings as fast as she could. It's some kind of hibernation system, she said. And whatever is inside it, it's alive. As if responding to their presence, the pod began to change. The pulsing lights grew brighter. Steam hissed from vents around its base. Deep inside the station, they could hear the sound of ancient machinery coming to life. The pod was opening. Taeho felt his mouth go dry. They were about to meet something that had been sleeping for who knew how long. Something that had built this incredible station. Something that was definitely not human. Everyone stay calm, he said, though his own heart was racing. Remember, you're training. We're here to make contact, not to fight. But as the pod continued to crack open with sounds like breaking mountains, Taeho wondered if they were about to discover that some things in the universe were better left sleeping. The sound of cracking metal filled the huge chamber. Taeho and his team watched as the giant pod split open like a flower blooming in slow motion. Steam poured out from the opening, creating thick clouds that swirled around their feet. Energy. Readings are going crazy, So-young whispered into her radio. Her scanner was beeping so fast it sounded like a machine gun. Whatever is in there, it's incredibly powerful. Dongwu had his plasma rifle ready. His training told him to expect the worst. Unknown alien life form. Potentially hostile. Rules of engagement were clear. Shoot first if threatened. Hold your fire unless I give the order, Taeho said quietly. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking inside his gloves. The pod opened wider. More steam escaped, and with it came a smell that somehow made it through their suit filters. It was old, ancient, like the scent of rain on rocks that had been sitting in the sun for 1,000,000 years. Then they saw movement. Something was rising from inside the pod. At first, it looked like a shadow in the mist. Then the shadow took shape, and Taeho felt his breath catch in his throat. It was a dragon. Not like the dragons in old movies or children's books. This was real. This was alive. And it was the most beautiful and terrifying thing any of them had ever seen. The creature was huge. Its head alone was bigger than their shuttle. Its neck stretched up into the darkness above them, long and graceful like a giant snake. But it was the scales that made them all stare in wonder. The dragon's scales changed color as they watched. They started as deep blue, then shifted to green, then to colors that had no names, colors that human eyes had never seen before. The scales seemed to hold light inside them, glowing softly in the darkness of the chamber. "My God," Ji-hoon breathed. "It's magnificent." The dragon's eyes opened. They were larger than dinner plates, and held a wisdom that seemed older than the stars themselves. When those ancient eyes focused on the 4 humans standing below, Taeho felt like he was being judged by time itself. The creature moved slowly, carefully. Its massive body unfolded from the pod with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Wings that could have covered a football field stretched out and then folded against its sides. 4 legs, each as thick as tree trunks, found purchase on the chamber floor. "Should I fire?" Dongwu asked quietly. His finger was on the trigger of his rifle. Every instinct he had was screaming at him that this thing was dangerous. "Wait," Taeho said. "It hasn't shown any hostile behavior." But that was not entirely true. The dragon was definitely aware of them. Its huge head lowered until it was only a few meters away from where they stood. Taeho could see his reflection in those enormous eyes. The dragon was studying them just as carefully as they were, studying it. So-young was taking readings as fast as she could. "Biosignatures are unlike anything in our database," she reported. "The cellular structure is completely alien, but there are some similarities to Earth reptiles. This thing is old, Captain. Very old." The dragon tilted its head to one side, as if listening to her words. Then something incredible happened. It began to change. The dragon's massive form seemed to shimmer and shift. Not physically, but somehow the air around it became different. The ancient creature was doing something that their instruments could not measure. "Captain," Haijin's voice came through their radios from the ship. "I'm detecting some kind of electromagnetic activity. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The whole station is lighting up." Taeho could see what she meant. The symbols on the walls around them were glowing brighter. The lines of light were moving, flowing like water through patterns carved in the metal. The entire chamber was coming alive. The dragon lowered its head, even closer. Taeho could feel heat radiating from its body. He could see the ancient intelligence in those massive eyes. This creature had seen things that humans could not imagine. It had lived through the rise and fall of civilizations. "What do you want?" Taeho asked out loud, knowing it was probably useless. How could an alien creature understand human speech? The dragon's eyes widened slightly. It pulled its head back and regarded him with what looked almost like surprise. Then the impossible happened. The dragon opened its mouth, not to roar or breathe fire like in the old stories. It opened its mouth to speak, but the voice that came out was not what any of them expected. It was not the deep, rumbling voice of a giant creature. It was soft, frightened, young, and it spoke, in perfect Korean. "Please," the dragon said in the voice of a terrified child, "don't let them find me." The words hit the four humans like a physical blow. Dongwu's rifle dropped slightly. So Young nearly dropped her scanner. Ji-hoon took a step backward in shock. "Did it just," Dongwu started to say, then stopped. "It spoke Korean," So Young finished. "Perfect Korean." Taeho felt his world shift around him. Everything he thought he knew about first contact, about alien life, about the universe itself, had just been turned upside down. Here was a creature that looked like something from Earth's oldest myths, speaking his native language and asking for help. "How?" Taeho began, then had to clear his throat and start again. "How do you know our language?" The dragon's eyes filled with something that looked like tears, though they were not like human tears. They glowed with the same soft light as its scales. "I have been dreaming," the dragon said in that same young, frightened voice. "Dreaming in the languages of a small blue world. Dreaming of warriors who might be brave enough to help." "Earth," Ji-hoon whispered. "It's talking about Earth." The dragon nodded its massive head. "Earth. Yes. I planted seeds there long ago, seeds of memory in the minds of your ancestors. I hoped that someday, when the time came, humans would remember." "Remember? What?" Taeho asked. The dragon's expression grew even more afraid. "Remember the alliance. Remember the war. Remember why we chose your people above all others." "What war?" So Young asked, her scientist mind racing to understand. "The war that is coming again," the dragon replied. "The war against the Devourers. They consumed my people. They consumed whole star systems. I am the last of my kind, and I have been hiding here for 10,000 years. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of ancient machinery humming in the darkness. The four humans stared at the dragon, trying to process what they had just heard. "The Devourers," Taeho repeated slowly. "Machines," the dragon said, its voice growing smaller and more frightened with each word. "Machines that eat everything. Planets, stars, entire civilizations. Nothing can stop them once they start consuming." "But you stopped them before," Ji-hoon said. "Your people fought them." "We tried," the dragon replied. "We were guardians of this galaxy for millions of years. We protected the younger races. We kept the peace. But when the Devourers came from beyond the galactic rim, we were not. Enough! We fought with honor and nobility, and we lost." Dongwu lowered his rifle completely. "Why are you telling us this?" The dragon looked directly at him with those ancient, wise eyes. "Because they are coming back. My awakening has sent out signals that they will detect. They will come to finish what they started, and this time they will find your Earth." "Then we have to warn them," Taeho said immediately. "We have to get back to Earth and prepare our defenses." "No," the dragon said quickly. "If you contact Earth now, they will trace your signals. They will find your homeworld immediately. Billions of your people will die." The weight of that statement settled on the crew like a heavy blanket. They were trapped. They could not warn Earth without dooming it. They could not stay silent and let the Devourers arrive unopposed. "There is another way," the dragon said, softly. "But it will require courage beyond anything your people have ever shown. It will require you to trust me and to accept a change that can never be undone." "What kind of change?" So Young asked. The dragon's scales shifted to a deeper, more serious color. "The change that will make you more than human. The change that will give you the power to fight the Devourers and win." Taeho felt his heart pounding. "You're talking about transforming us." "I am talking about evolution. the dragon replied. I am talking about giving humanity the weapons and abilities my people use to guard the galaxy. But there is a price. What price? Dongwu asked. You will no longer be fully human, the dragon said sadly. You will be something new, something that has never existed before. Human hearts and minds, but with power beyond your current understanding. The 4 crew members looked at each other. They had come out here looking for alien life. Instead, they had found a choice that would determine the fate of their entire species. In the distance, barely detectable by their instruments, the first scout ships of the Devourers crossed into the galaxy, following the signal of an ancient enemy's awakening. The silence in the chamber stretched on for what felt like hours. Tejo and his crew stood frozen, trying to understand what the dragon had just told them. The fate of all humanity might depend on the choice they made in the next few minutes. Tell us more about these Devourers, Tejo finally said. We need to understand what we're facing. The dragon's eyes grew distant, as if looking back through thousands of years of memory. They are not alive in the way you understand life. They are machines, but machines with intelligence. They were created by a race that lived beyond our galaxy, in the dark spaces between the stars. So Young stepped closer, her scanner still running. What do they want? Everything, the dragon replied simply. They consume matter and energy to make more of themselves. They turn planets into raw materials. They break down stars to fuel their expansion. When they are done with a galaxy, nothing remains but empty space and cosmic dust. Ji-hoon shook his head in disbelief. How many of them are there? When they first came to our galaxy, there were perhaps 1,000 ships, the dragon said. By the time my people fell, there were millions. They grow stronger with everything they consume. Dongwu was thinking like a soldier. What kind of weapons do they have? The dragon's scales shifted to a darker color. Weapons that can crack planets, beams that turn matter into energy, ships that can repair themselves faster than you can damage them. But their greatest weapon is their numbers. For every one you destroy, 10 more take its place. How did your people fight them? Tejo asked. With great ships and ancient weapons, the dragon answered. With powers that your science cannot yet explain. We were strong. We were brave. We fought for 10,000 years. But in the end, we were too few and they were too many. The dragon lowered its massive head closer to the humans. That is why I chose your species. That is why I visited your world so long ago. You visited Earth? So Young asked, her voice filled with excitement and fear. Many times, the dragon said. I watched your ancestors grow and learn. I saw how they faced challenges that should have destroyed them. I saw how they never gave up, even when defeat seemed certain. The myths, Ji-hoon said suddenly. The stories about dragons in our history, those were real. Some of them, the dragon agreed. I tested your people. I watched them fight impossible battles. I saw them protect each other even when it meant their own death. Your species has something mine did not. What? Tejo asked. You are stubborn, the dragon said. And for the first time, something like a smile seemed to cross its ancient features. You refuse to accept defeat. When faced with impossible odds, you find impossible solutions. But we're just humans, Dongwu said. We don't have great ships or ancient weapons. Not yet, the dragon replied. But you can learn. Your minds can adapt to technologies that destroyed other species. Your spirits can handle powers that drove other races insane. The dragon gestured with one enormous claw toward the walls of the chamber. The symbols there began to glow brighter, and new patterns appeared. This station contains the knowledge of my people, the dragon explained. Weapons, ships, technologies that can fight the Devourers on equal terms, but using them requires a bond between human and dragon consciousness. A bond? So Young asked. Your minds and mine, working together, the dragon said. Your creativity and determination, combined with our ancient knowledge and power, it is the only way to create warriors strong enough to face what is coming. Teho felt a chill run down his spine. You said there would be a price. The dragon nodded sadly. The bonding process will change you forever. You will gain abilities beyond human understanding. You will be able to interface with our technology directly through thought alone. You will be stronger, faster, and more intelligent than any human who has ever lived. That sounds like a good thing, Ji-hoon said. But you will no longer be fully human, the dragon continued. Your consciousness will be expanded beyond what human minds were meant to hold. You will see the universe in ways that may drive you mad. You will carry the memories and emotions of beings who lived for millions of years. The crew exchanged worried glances. They had signed up for exploration, not transformation into something alien. What happens to the people who undergo this bonding? Dong-woo asked. They become something new, the dragon said. Neither human nor dragon, but both. They keep their human hearts and determination, but gain the wisdom and power of my people. Some call them the dragon riders, though they ride no beasts. They become living weapons against the darkness. Have any humans ever tried this before? Teho asked. No, the dragon admitted. You would be the first. I do not know if human minds are truly compatible with our technology. You could die in the attempt. Or worse, you could survive, but lose everything that makes you who you are. The chamber fell silent again as the crew considered this terrible choice. Sacrifice their humanity to gain the power to save their species, or remain human and watch everything they loved be consumed by an unstoppable enemy. How long do we have? So Young asked. The dragon closed its eyes and seemed to listen to something. Only it could hear. The Devourers have detected my awakening. Their scout ships are already moving toward this system. They will arrive in perhaps 10 of your days. 10 days, Teho repeated. And Earth? If they find your homeworld, they will reach it in less than a year, the dragon said. Billions of your people will die in the first wave of attack. Dong-woo stepped forward. I'll do it, he said firmly. I'll undergo the bonding. Dong-woo, no, Teho said. We don't know what it will do to you. We know what will happen if we do nothing, Dong-woo replied. My family is on Earth, my children. If this bonding can give me the power to protect them, then I have to try. The dragon looked at the weapons specialist with ancient, approving eyes. You understand the risk? I understand that some things are worth risking everything for, Dong-woo said. The bonding process is painful, the dragon warned. Your body and mind will be changed at the cellular level. You may not survive. But if I do survive, I'll be able to fight these Devourers. You will become a weapon unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen, the dragon promised. Human determination bonded with dragon power. It may be the combination that finally defeats the darkness. Ji-hoon stepped forward as well. I want to try it too. Ji-hoon, Teho said, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do, the engineer replied. Someone needs to understand their technology. Someone needs to learn how to build the weapons we'll need. If this bonding can teach me that, then it's worth the risk. So Young was studying her scanner readings. The energy patterns around the dragon are incredible, she said. If we could understand how this bonding works, we could potentially adapt it for others. Others? Teho asked. Think about it, Captain, she said. If this works, we could offer the choice to all of humanity. Let everyone decide for themselves whether to remain human or become something more. The dragon's eyes widened. You would share this gift with your entire species? That's what humans do, Teho said. We don't keep power for ourselves. We share it. We work together. Even knowing the risks? especially knowing the risks, Teho replied. Every human should have the right to choose their own fate. The dragon was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was filled with wonder. This is why I chose your people. This is why you may succeed where we failed. You think not just of yourselves, but of others. So you'll help us? So Young asked. I will teach you, the dragon said. I will share the knowledge of my people. But first, someone must undergo the bonding. Someone must prove that humans and dragons can truly work together. Dongwu checked his rifle one last time, then set it aside. I'm ready. As am I, Ji-hoon added. Teho looked at his two crew members. They were willing to sacrifice everything for the chance to save their species. It was the most human thing he had ever seen. What do they need to do? He asked the dragon. The ancient creature began to glow with soft light. They must trust me completely. They must open their minds to mine. And they must be prepared to become something the universe has never seen before. In the distance, the first Devourer scouts entered the outer edge of the solar system, following the energy trail of an awakened enemy. The transformation of humanity was about to begin. The dragon moved to the center of the chamber with surprising grace for something so large. As it walked, the symbols on the walls grew brighter, and new patterns appeared that seemed to pulse with life. The bonding chamber is below us, the dragon said. Its voice had changed, becoming deeper and more formal. It has been waiting for 10,000 years. The floor beneath their feet began to glow. Lines of light spread outward from where the dragon stood, forming intricate patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ancient technology was waking up. What exactly will happen to us? Dongwu asked. He was trying to sound calm, but Teho could hear the tension in his voice. First, your minds will be opened to mine, the dragon explained. You will see my memories, the history of my people, the knowledge we gathered over millions of years. This alone may be enough to drive a human mind to madness. Ji-hoon swallowed hard. And if we survive that, then your bodies will be changed, the dragon continued. Your cells will be rebuilt to handle energies that would kill a normal human. Your nervous system will be expanded to interface with our technology. Your consciousness will be stretched across dimensions you cannot imagine. So Young was recording everything on her scanner. How long does the process take? Hours, the dragon said. Perhaps a full day. Time moves differently during the bonding. You may experience years of memories in moments, or moments may feel like years. Teho stepped forward. I should go first. I'm the captain. It's my responsibility. No, Dongwu said firmly. I volunteered first, and I'm the weapons specialist. If this bonding teaches me how to fight the Devourers, then I need to be the one to try it. The dragon looked at each of them in turn. The choice must be made freely. No one can be forced into this transformation. I understand, Dongwu said. I choose to try. The floor beneath them began to change. Sections slid apart, revealing a staircase that led down into the depths of the station. The stairs were made of the same strange metal as everything else, but they glowed with warm light that seemed to welcome them. Come, the dragon said. The bonding chamber awaits. They descended into the heart of the ancient station. The staircase spiraled down for what felt like miles, though their instruments said they had only gone a few hundred meters. The walls around them were covered with more symbols, these ones moving constantly, like living writing. Those symbols, So Young said, pointing at the walls. They're beautiful. They are the preserved memories of my people, the dragon explained. Every dragon who ever lived left their experiences here, their knowledge, their dreams, their fears. All of that will be shared with whoever undergoes the bonding? Ji-hoon asked. Yes, the dragon said. But human minds work differently than ours. You may be able to handle the information in ways we never could. You may find connections and solutions that we missed. They reached the bottom of the staircase and entered another vast chamber. This one was different from the awakening chamber above. It felt alive. The walls pulsed gently, like a slow heartbeat. In the center stood a platform surrounded by streams of flowing light. The bonding platform, the dragon said. My people used this to share knowledge and memories, but it was never designed for transformation. What we are attempting has never been tried before. Dongwu walked toward the platform without hesitation. What do I need to do? Lie down in the center, the dragon instructed. Clear your mind of all thoughts except your determination to protect your people. The bonding will begin automatically when it senses your willingness. Dongwu looked back at his crewmates one last time. If this doesn't work, tell my family. I tried. It will work, Taeho said with more confidence than he felt. You're the strongest person I know. And the most stubborn, So Young added with a small smile. Dongwu grinned. That's what will get me through this. He lay down on the platform. Immediately, the streams of light began to move faster. They rose from the floor and surrounded him like gentle rivers of energy. The dragon moved closer and placed one enormous claw on the edge of the platform. I will guide the process, the dragon said. But you must be strong. You must hold on to who you are while allowing yourself to become something more. The light around Dongwu grew brighter. He closed his eyes and tried to relax, but Taeho could see his hands clenching into fists. Then the real bonding began. Light poured into Dongwu from every direction. Not just visible light, but energies that made the air itself sing with power. The symbols on the walls began moving faster, streaming information directly into his mind. He's receiving the memories now, the dragon said quietly. 10 million years of dragon history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the first contact with the devourers, the long war. Dongwu's body began to change. His muscles grew larger and more defined. His skin took on a faint metallic sheen. Most remarkably, his eyes began to glow with the same soft light as the dragon's scales. Is he in pain? Ji-hoon asked with concern. Great pain, the dragon admitted, but also great joy. He is experiencing things no human has ever experienced. He is becoming something new. Hours passed. Dongwu's transformation continued, his body adapting to energies that should have killed him instantly. The dragon never moved from its position, carefully guiding the process with ancient knowledge and intuition. Finally, the light began to fade. Dongwu opened his eyes, and when he did, Taeho gasped. Those were not human eyes anymore. They held depths that seemed to go on forever, filled with knowledge that no human mind should be able to contain. Dongwu, Taeho asked carefully, are you still you? Dongwu sat up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was the same, but there was something different about it. Something that spoke of vast spaces and ancient wisdom. I am still Dongwu Li, he said, but I am also more. I remember flying between the stars when your son was young. I remember the first time the Devourers came to this galaxy. I remember the last stand of the dragon homeworld. He stood up from the platform, and Taeho could see that his movements were different now, more fluid, more graceful. But underneath all the changes, he was still recognizably their friend. How do you feel? So Young asked. Like I have been asleep my whole life and just woke up, Dongwu replied. I can see energy patterns I never knew existed. I can feel the station around us like it's part of my own body. And I know how to fight. The Devourers. You do? Ji-hoon asked excitedly. The knowledge is there, Dongwu said. Weapons that can hurt them, tactics that can stop them, but we will need more than one transformed human to face their fleets. That's where I come in, Ji-hoon said, walking toward the platform. Wait, the dragon said. The bonding process drains both of us. I need time to recover before attempting another transformation. How much time? Teho asked. Several hours, the dragon replied. But there is something we can do while we wait, something that may help your entire species. What? So Young asked. The dragon looked at Dongwu, who now seemed to understand what the ancient creature was thinking. We can prepare the knowledge transfer, Dongwu said. Everything the dragon knows about the bonding process, everything I learned during my transformation, we can encode it so that it can be transmitted to Earth. You mean, Teho said slowly, we can teach all of humanity how to undergo this transformation? If they choose to, the dragon said. The bonding must always be voluntary. But yes, we can give every human the option to become something more. So Young was already thinking about the technical aspects. We'll need to modify our communication systems. The amount of data we're talking about is enormous. I can help with that now, Dongwu said. I understand both human technology and dragon science. I can bridge the gap between them, Ji-hoon nodded eagerly. And once I undergo the bonding, I'll be able to help design the systems we'll need. Weapons, ships, whatever it takes to fight the Devourers. Teho felt a surge of hope for the first time since they had discovered the dragon. So we're really going to do this. We're going to give humanity a fighting chance. More than a fighting chance, the dragon said. If your people respond the way I believe they will, we may finally have the force needed to drive the Devourers from this galaxy forever. What makes you so confident? Teho asked. The dragon looked at Dongwu, who was already working with the station's systems as if he had been born to it. Human stubbornness combined with dragon wisdom. Human creativity enhanced by ancient knowledge. Because, the dragon said, humans never know when to give up. And now, they will have the power to back up that determination. In the depths of space, the Devourer scouts detected the energy signature of a successful bonding. They accelerated toward the source, eager to consume this new threat before it could spread. But they had no idea what they were really facing. They were about to encounter something that had never existed before in the universe. Humanity empowered, and humanity was done being prey. 6 hours later, Ji-hoon lay unconscious on the bonding platform. His transformation had been even more intense than Dongwu's. The engineer's mind had absorbed not just dragon memories, but their understanding of technology that spanned millions of years. His vital signs are stabilizing, So Young reported, checking her scanner. But the energy readings are incredible. He's generating power levels that should be impossible for a human body. The dragon looked exhausted. 2 bonding processes in one day had drained much of its ancient strength, but its eyes still glowed with determination. The knowledge transfer is complete, the dragon said wearily. He now understands our technology better than any dragon who ever lived. Human minds process information differently than ours. He may find solutions we never imagined. Teho paced around the chamber, his mind racing with everything they had learned. We need to make a decision about contacting Earth. The Devourers will be here in 4 days. If we send a transmission to Earth now, the Devourers will track it, Dongwu said. His voice carried new confidence, backed by ancient wisdom. They will follow our signal straight to humanity's home world. But if we don't warn Earth, billions of people will die when the Devourers arrive, So Young pointed out. The dragon shifted its massive form, thinking carefully. There is a third option, one that requires great courage from your entire species. What option? Teho asked. We broadcast everything, the dragon said. Not just a warning, but the complete bonding process, the full knowledge of dragon technology. We give every human the choice to transform themselves. Teho felt his heart skip a beat. You mean tell all of humanity about this? About what we've discovered? More than tell them, Dongwu said, understanding immediately. We give them the power to save themselves. We transmit the bonding process to every communication device on Earth, television, radio, internet, everything. So Young looked worried. The data requirements would be enormous, and the bonding process needs specific conditions. They can't all come to this station. Ji-hoon's eyes suddenly opened. He sat up slowly, and like Dong-woo, his eyes now held depths that seemed infinite. But where Dong-woo had gained the memories of warriors, Ji-hoon had absorbed the knowledge of builders and creators. "They don't need to come here," Ji-hoon said, his voice carrying new understanding. "I know how to modify the bonding process. We can encode it into a signal that will work with human technology. Anyone with access to basic electronics can undergo the transformation." "That's impossible," So-young said. "Not impossible," Ji-hoon replied. "Just very difficult. Dragon technology works on principles human science hasn't discovered yet. But now I understand both. I can bridge the gap." The dragon looked at the transformed engineer with something like amazement. "In 6 hours, you have found solutions my people searched for during millennia of research." "Human brains work differently," Ji-hoon said with a modest smile that was still recognizably his own. "We look at problems from angles that never occurred to your people." Tae-ho made his decision. "We do it. We send the broadcast to Earth. We give humanity the choice." "Captain," So-young said carefully, "we're talking about fundamentally changing our entire species. Some people will choose to remain human. Others will transform. What kind of world will that create?" "A world where humanity has a chance to survive," Dong-woo said firmly. "A world where people can choose their own fate instead of having it chosen for them by alien machines." The dragon nodded slowly. "The broadcast will take time to prepare, and once we send it, the devourers will know exactly where Earth is. Your people will have perhaps hours to make their choice before the attack begins." "How long will the transformation take once someone begins the process?" Tae-ho asked. "With the modifications I'm planning, about 30 minutes, Ji-hoon said. "Fast enough for people to transform before the devourers arrive, but long enough for them to understand what they're choosing." So-young was already thinking about the practical aspects. "We'll need to send instructions in every human language. We'll need to explain the risks. We'll need to make sure people understand this is permanent. And we'll need to prepare for what comes after," Dong-woo added. "Transformed humans will need to coordinate their efforts. They'll need to work together to face the devourer fleets." Tae-ho looked around at his crew. In just a few days, they had gone from explorers to the people who would determine humanity's future. The weight of that responsibility was almost crushing. "Are we making the right choice?" he asked. The dragon was quiet for a long moment. "I have watched your species for thousands of years," it finally said. "I have seen humans face impossible odds again and again. You never choose the easy path. You never choose the safe path. You choose the path that gives others a chance to survive and thrive. Even when it costs us everything," So-young added, quietly. "Especially then," the dragon agreed. "That is why I believe you will succeed where my people failed. Humans fight not just for themselves, but for each other, for people they have never met, for children not yet born." Ji-hoon was all ready, working with the station's systems, his transformed mind interfacing directly with dragon technology. "I can have the broadcast ready in 12 hours, he said, "but we need to decide exactly what to include." "Everything," Tae-ho said without hesitation. "The truth about the devourers, the truth about what the transformation will do, the truth about what will happen if humanity chooses to remain unchanged. People deserve to make an informed choice," So-young agreed. "Even if some of them choose wrongly?" Dong-woo asked. "There is no wrong choice," the dragon said gently. "There is only the choice to fight or the choice to accept fate. Both have their place in the universe." Over the next several hours, they worked to prepare the broadcast. Ji-hoon's transformed abilities allowed him to encode the bonding process into signals that human technology could interpret. So-young helped translate the technical aspects into terms that ordinary people could understand. Dong-woo shared the Tactical knowledge he had gained, explaining what transformed humans would need to do to fight the Devourers effectively. Tejo recorded the main message, speaking directly to his species about the choice they faced. "People of Earth," his recorded voice said, "my name is Captain Tejo Kim. 3 days ago, my crew discovered something that will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. We are not alone, and we are in great danger. The message went on to explain everything. The dragon, the Devourers, the choice between transformation and extinction. In a few hours, we will send you everything you need to make this choice for yourselves," Tejo's message continued. "The process is dangerous. You may die during the transformation. You will definitely be changed in ways that can never be undone. But if enough of you choose to transform, humanity will have the power to fight back against an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. You will have the chance to become guardians of the galaxy, protectors of life itself. The choice is yours. No one will force you to transform. No one will blame you if you choose to remain human. But please, make your choice quickly. The enemy is coming and time is running out." When the message was complete, So Young looked at the data package they had prepared. It contained everything: the bonding process, tactical information, technical, specifications for weapons and defenses, and the complete history of the dragon civilization. "This is the most important transmission in human history," she said. "No pressure," Ji-hoon said with a weak smile. Dongwoo checked the station's long-range sensors. "Devourer scouts are 2 days out. Once we send this transmission, they'll accelerate toward Earth. Then we'd better hope humanity makes the right choice," Tejo said. "They will," the dragon said with quiet confidence. "I have seen your people's spirit. When faced with extinction, humans do not despair. They fight. They adapt. They find a way to win against impossible odds." "Even against machines that have conquered entire galaxies?" So Young asked. "Especially against them," the dragon replied. "The Devourers understand consumption and efficiency. They do not understand hope. They do not understand sacrifice. They do not understand the human refusal to give up." Tejo made the final decision. Send the transmission. The ancient station's communication systems, enhanced by Ji-hoon's improvements, sent out a signal more powerful than anything Earth had ever produced. The message raced across space at faster-than-light speeds, carrying with it the future of humanity. On Earth, every television, radio, computer, and communication device suddenly activated. Tejo's message began playing in hundreds of languages, simultaneously. Around the world, billions of people stopped what they were doing to listen to words that would change everything. The response was immediate. Some people panicked. Some refused to believe. But millions of others made the choice that Tejo had hoped they would make. They chose to transform. In homes and offices and streets around the world, ordinary humans began the process that would make them into something more. They connected their devices to the broadcast signal and opened their minds to the bonding process. The transformation of humanity had begun, and in the depths of space, the Devourer fleets detected the massive energy spike from. The Devourer fleet arrived at Earth 18 hours after the broadcast. 3,000 ships of impossible size, each one capable of cracking a planet in half. They moved in perfect formation, their metal hulls reflecting no light, their weapons, charging with energies that could turn matter into void. On the ancient station, Tejo watched the invasion begin through the dragon's enhanced sensors. His heart pounded as he saw the alien ships take positions around Earth. "How many humans chose to transform?" he asked. So Young was monitoring the communication signals from Earth. Her face was bright with amazement. "Over 200 million. People completed the bonding process," she reported, "and more are transforming every minute." 200 million, the dragon repeated in wonder. "In the history of my people, we never had more than a few thousand bonded warriors at any time." Will it be enough? Dongwu asked. His transformed senses could feel the power of the approaching Devourer fleet. It will have to be, Ji-hoon said. He was connected directly to the station's systems now, coordinating with the transformed humans on Earth. The first wave of attacks is beginning. Through the sensors, they watched as beams of destructive energy lanced down from the Devourer, ships toward Earth's major cities. But something impossible happened. The beams struck invisible barriers that flared to life around the planet. Shields, Ji-hoon said with satisfaction. The transformed humans are working together to protect their world. How are they doing that? Tae-ho asked in amazement. Dragon technology powered by human determination, the dragon explained. Your people are using abilities they learned 30 minutes ago as if they had trained for centuries. The Devourers seemed surprised by the resistance. Their perfect formations wavered as they encountered defenses that should not have existed. They had conquered thousands of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. Second wave incoming, So Young reported. This time, the Devourers sent physical ships down through Earth's atmosphere, massive mechanical constructs designed to land on the surface and begin consuming everything they found. But as they descended, they were met by something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans who could fly. Transformed humans rose from cities around the world, their bodies glowing with the same soft light as dragon scales. They moved through the air like birds, but struck like missiles. Where they touched the Devourer machines, metal began to dissolve. They're using the dissolution technique, Dongwu said with pride. A weapon my people developed to fight Devourer armor. But look how they're using it, the dragon said with growing excitement. They're not just dissolving the ships, they're reprogramming them. Tae-ho watched in amazement as the humans swarmed over the descending Devourer craft. Instead of simply destroying them, they were changing them. Machines designed to consume were being converted into machines that protected and healed. That's impossible, So Young breathed. The Devourer's programming can't be changed. Human programmers apparently didn't get that message, Ji-hoon said with a grin. They're treating Devourer code like any other software problem. On Earth, the battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Where other species had fought the Devourers with honor and courage and lost, humans fought with creativity and stubbornness and chaos. They broke every rule of warfare that had ever existed. When Devourer ships tried to drain Earth's oceans, humans turned the water itself into a weapon, freezing it around the alien vessels. When the machines attempted to consume the atmosphere, transformed humans simply made more air, pulling it from dimensions the Devourers didn't know existed. They're learning faster than we ever did, the dragon said in amazement. Human minds adapt to new realities in ways mine never could. The tide of battle began to turn. Each Devourer ship that was captured became a weapon for humanity. Each machine that was reprogrammed joined the growing fleet defending Earth. What had started as an invasion was becoming a conversion. But the Devourers had one more strategy. If they could not consume Earth directly, they would destroy it completely. The massive ships in high orbit began charging their planet-killer weapons. Energy spike detected, So Young reported urgently. They're preparing to crack the planet. This was the moment of truth. All their preparation, all their transformation, all their hope came down to the next few minutes. Ji-hoon, Tae-ho said. Urgently, can the transformed humans stop those weapons? Not from the surface, Ji-hoon replied. The weapons are too well protected. Someone would have to get close to the ships themselves. The dragon suddenly raised its massive head. No, it said. Someone would have to get inside them. Inside a Devourer ship, Dongwu asked. That's suicide. Not for a dragon, the ancient creature replied, and not for humans bonded with dragon consciousness. Tae-ho understood immediately. You're going to attack the fleet directly. We are going to attack the fleet directly, the dragon corrected. All of us, together. The station can't survive that kind of battle, So Young protested. The station doesn't need to survive, the dragon said calmly. It has served its purpose. It brought us together. It gave humanity the choice. Now it will give us the power to finish what we started. The ancient station began to change around them. Walls became transparent, revealing the vast machinery that had slept for 10,000 years. Weapon systems larger than Earth's biggest cities began to unfold. The station wasn't just a place to store knowledge. It was a weapon designed to fight the Devourers. All this time, Tejo said in wonder, we've been inside a warship. The last warship of my people, the dragon confirmed. Built to carry our final hope across the galaxy, built to wait for allies worthy of that hope. The station ship tore free from its orbit around the dying star and accelerated toward Earth at impossible speeds. As it moved, it sent out signals to every transformed human on the planet. What are you telling them? Tejo asked. I am telling them it is time to stop defending, the dragon replied. It is time to attack. Around Earth, 200 million transformed humans rose from the surface of their world. They moved not as individuals, but as one vast, coordinated force. Human creativity enhanced by dragon wisdom. Human determination powered by ancient technology. They struck the Devourer fleet like a storm made of light and will. The battle that followed was not a fight between species. It was a clash between philosophies. The Devourers represented consumption, efficiency, the reduction of everything to resources. The transformed humans represented creation, chaos, the stubborn refusal to accept that anything was impossible. Where Devourer weapons struck human defenders, the humans simply absorbed the energy and used it to grow stronger. Where humans touched Devourer ships, the machines began to change, their programming rewritten by minds that saw no difference between metal and flesh, between artificial and natural. Tejo and his crew fought from the bridge of the Dragon warship. Their consciousness expanded to encompass the entire battle. They were no longer just humans or even transformed humans. They were something new, something that had never existed in the universe before. They were hope, given form and power. The Devourer fleet, which had conquered galaxies, began to retreat. For the first time in their mechanical existence, they faced an enemy they could not understand, could not predict, could not defeat. But the humans were not content with victory. They followed the fleeing ships, converting them one by one. Machines that had spent eons consuming life became guardians of life, weapons designed for destruction became tools for creation. The war ended not with the death of the Devourers, but with their transformation. The galaxy's greatest threat became its newest protectors, their purpose rewritten by human ingenuity and dragon wisdom. In the aftermath, Tejo stood on the bridge of the ancient warship and looked out at the stars. Earth hung beautiful and blue in the distance, its surface now home to both transformed and unchanged humans living side by side. What happens now? So Young asked. She had chosen to undergo the transformation after the battle, unable to resist the opportunity to explore science beyond human understanding. Now we guard the galaxy, the dragon said. Its ancient body was failing, the effort of the great battle having drained its remaining strength. We protect the younger races. We ensure that no force like the Devourers ever rises again. You're dying, Tejo said sadly. I am returning to the cosmos, the dragon replied peacefully. But my people live on in you. The last dragon has found a species worthy of its legacy. As the ancient being faded away, its consciousness joined with those of the transformed humans. Its knowledge, its memories, its hope became part of humanity's inheritance. Tejo looked out at the stars with eyes that could now see across dimensions. His crew stood beside him, no longer just the people they had been, but something greater. They were guardians now, dragons born of Earth, ready to face whatever darkness might threaten the light of civilization. The dragon's first sentence had shattered his nerve by revealing humanity's true destiny. But humanity's response had shattered the darkness itself. In the depths of space, other species detected the end of the devourer threat and began to emerge from hiding. The galaxy was safe again, protected by beings who understood that the greatest strength came not from power, but from the willingness to use that